Welcome to the J-Files. I'm your host, Jaden Cornelious. For thousands and thousands of years, stories of the supernatural, of the spirit realm, of shape-shifting, of extraterrestrials, of ghosts, of haunted places, and of communication with the dead, us humans have found completely fascinating. Most people, whether believers or skeptics, find the experiences of the things that go bump in the night completely and utterly captivating. But the age-old question lies whether the alleged paranormal event that witnesses have claimed to experience are real. Now, I don't doubt that many people believe what they had experienced is a paranormal event. Really is what you believe to be real, right? I hope you enjoy this show. Please subscribe, please share, and please comment. And if you have had a paranormal experience and you wish to be on the show, please get in touch. Enjoy the show.
Okay. My name is Scott. I used to live in the United States. I was up in Vermont and then moved from there out to Arizona, and that wasn't quite hot enough, so moved to Puerto Morelos, where my wife and I currently live. My parents had bought a ski lodge in Vermont back around 1979, and it was on the top of a hill in Vermont, completely. There were no trees. It was just acres all around of open fields all the way around this lodge. And even though the lodge was not an old construction, probably from the 40s or such, there was a feeling, it was just kind of like a feeling of it being an older kind of a place. It was never updated or such, so it had a lot of unique charm. And my parents had separated. My mother ran the place herself. Well, my mother used to mention that there was a poltergeist that lived there, and she called him George. And so this was kind of funny, it was we all just, all right, fine. She was serious about it, and we were just like, okay, fine, I believe it. I don't disbelieve things or believe them in my life unless I actually see something. And so I was very neutral about ghosts and hauntings, and so she would tell us how she had a problem with George, where in the first year she had the lodge, guests would come to her pretty upset sometimes laughing. But she said one guest, the first one that I remembered was a person came up to her and told her, we know it was cold last night, but please don't come into our room at night to shut our windows if it gets cold outside. We like that cold air. And the other thing that she would hear more was, I think your chambermaid stole my cigarettes and my lighter. And she said this was really difficult because she would tell him, I would never come in your room at night. And they'd give her this look, the window's really stiff. It's not easy to put that window down. And so she actually had to refund a couple customers over it. And she lost an employee for accusing them of stealing somebody's cigarettes and lighter. And as these things kept racking up, and things started happening with her, that's when she realized George was in the place. And that's just her name for him. And she said he doesn't like windows being left open when it's cold, and he does not like cigarettes, and he doesn't like people smoking, so he takes the lighters too. And so what she did was she smartened up, and she would tell people if they said, don't shut my window at night. Well, the windows have a tendency, it's an older house, they do have a tendency to drop down a little bit at night. And they said, no, that window's very hard to operate. And she got good at what she would tell them, that they kind of slowly come down. It's a little weird, and especially at night as the temperatures come down, and the window will actually drop sometimes. And so she'd kind of quell their fears that way. And for the smokers, there wasn't much she could do. She had a drawer full of all different kinds of packs of cigarettes and a whole bunch of lighters. And the drawer was actually out in a pole barn for the horses, because when she first had it inside the house, they all disappeared. So she kept everything outside, and she'd say, "Oh, I'm sorry, what brand do you smoke? I'll try to get something similar." She'd go out and grab some cigarettes for him. So this would go on, and I'm hearing about this and I'm finding it interesting, but no, I'm not a firm believer, and maybe being all by yourself on the top of a mountain can affect you. So it was rare she had a full lodge. It was most often, one or two families or such, usually very, very few guests. And so we came into a slack season, what they call mud season, and my mother had nobody renting. So she said, she asked me if I could go up and keep an eye on the place. She was going to Germany for 3 weeks to see my younger brother. Sure. Well, the roads were muddy, and I drove a motorcycle, so I figured, well, I'll just go stay there. So I packed a bag, go up. And the first night that I'm in there, I got all comfy and flipped on the TV, and they had this nice heated, vibrating chair. But it's one of those nights where, even though there's no snow out there, you can hear the wind kind of howling through the windows and stuff. And it was your classic haunted house kind of howling windows. And I liked it. I really did. And it was a little eerie. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I'm sitting there comfy, and you just get that feeling that somebody is like right there watching you. And here we go. And all it takes, now this is from 1980, and my hair's up. I mean, this was so creepy. And I just got paralyzed in the chair. You just sit there going, if I turn, and I'm a huge fan of horror movies. I'll tell you, I am a massive fan. So, I'm not easily frightened. And it's just, you sit there going, if I turn around, what am I going to see? And so I just sat and calmed down and tried to get a better frame of mind, and then I heard a toilet flush, and that was upstairs. So I figured my sister or her boyfriend, my mother put them up to this, they're pranking me. I ran upstairs, and I went into the room, and the toilet's still filling up, and I heard the toilet in the next room. That one flush. Now, there's only two ways up. There's a stairwell at each end. It's shaped like an L, but it's a pretty long hallway. And so as I'm standing in the doorway to the first room, the room right next to me, that one flushes. So I ran in, and there is no way out. There's no way out. There's no way to hide. It was, the water's still dropping down the toilet, and then I heard the next room, and I ran out in the hallway, and I heard the next room, and I heard the next room, and that's it. I said, I'm done. I locked the place up, and I got out of there as quick as I could. When she got home, she was laughing. Oh, she thought this is the funniest thing. And I said, I almost defecated myself. I mean, I was mortally terrified. And she's laughing. She said, I've been telling you about him for a year. And this is what he does. He pranks, and he's harmless. And so I was okay. I'm not staying here again on my own, though. Only if other people are there. Well, a couple weeks later, maybe a month later, we had this dog, and he was one of those that's absolutely relentless about chasing a ball. You got to throw the ball. And so he'd bring you the ball, drop it at your feet, and look at you. And he'd sit there so eager, just wiggling and wagging his tail. And if you didn't respond, he'd pick the ball up and drop it closer, and then drop it closer. And so I was helping my mother out, and I was doing dishes in the kitchen, and I looked down into the garden, and there's this circular bench built around an old tree. And there's our dog sitting in front of that bench, picking a ball up, dropping it, looking at the bench, going crazy, drop the ball, a little closer, a little closer. There was nobody there, and that dog definitely saw somebody. There was no doubt. And so I yelled for my mother. I said, "Look out in the garden." And she said, "Well, he does that all the time. I think Champ can see him." She said, "Because he responds to him." She said, "I haven't seen that before, but he responds." And she said, and so at that point, that's not scary seeing that, but that was actually pretty cool. But it left me with absolutely no doubt in my mind that yes, there is something that inhabits that building that can physically move things, because it does steal cigarettes and close windows, and there were a couple other things. My brother and his wife or girlfriend at the time, they stayed in one of the rooms, and they told me that when he was sitting there reading, and she was in front of a mirror getting ready, and all of a sudden they just saw they saw something move, and they looked, and a thimble fell into the center of the bed, like a sewing thimble. And the thimble came from on top of a bureau on the side of the room. Neither one of them were close to it. There's no animals in the room. So, there's 6 kids in my family. Every one of us saw something. I'm the only one that he really terrified. Maybe he felt bad about doing it. But, so that's my story about a haunted inn in Vermont. And if you want to go have a wonderful stay, and if nothing else, have a 150-mile, 200-mile view, it is Cooper Hill Lodge. It's located in East Dover, Vermont. It is still open for business. So, enjoy. My parents got rid. They sold the lodge mid-'80s. Business wasn't good, and but that's my story about haunting at a Vermont lodge. Thank you.